Lovelies, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Maria and today's video is probably going to be a long one. We're basically going to be going through my entire physical TBR, and listen, I've probably got around 240 books on these shelves. That's when I last counted. The number might have went up, so we're probably in the realm of around 250 books, and yep, I know it's a problem, but listen, it could be worse. Could be drugs. That's what I always say. So I did put a poll up on YouTube to see if everyone was interested in this, and for the vast majority, most people did want to see what I have on my physical TBR. So I'm going to be going through all of these books. I will not be going through kind of each synopsis because we would literally be here forever, but I will kind of give a quick description. To be honest, 90% of this is probably going to be fantasy, so I'll be giving a very small description of the genre of the book and maybe one or two words about why I picked it up, or if it's been on my TBR for a long time. We'll see how it goes, but for some of them I may just say the title and the author's name because, as I say, it's 240 plus books to get through. We're going to be here a while. So first I'm going to be going through my big shelves here. These are double stacked, so quite a lot to get through here. Then I do have my kind of overspill and romance shelves down here, but you can't see yet. And then I do have my TBR cart, and then there are a few books that are just kind of sitting in piles at the moment because I am running out of room until I get my new shelves up. So we've quite a lot to get through, so let's just get started. Okay, so I think this is about as high as I can get my tripod to go, so hopefully this is okay for you. But the way I'm going to do this is go through all of the paperbacks at the front of the shelf first. I'll take them off as I'm going along, and then we'll be able to look at the hardbacks at the back. The way I've kind of organised these shelves is by genre, which is basically mostly fantasy, and I tried to alphabetically organise it. You might see ones in there that aren't quite in order, but for the most part it's kind of alphabetical. But I've kept the paperbacks at the front and then the hardbacks at the back so that we can hopefully see the books that are on the back as well. But without further ado, let's just get this started. So the first book you'll see here is The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This one's been on my TBR for quite some time. YA fantasy, definitely one I want to get to soon. Next up, I've got The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden, second book in the Winter Night trilogy, and I've read the first book, really enjoyed it. Next up is The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon. This is kind of a fantasy, but mostly romance. Probably reads more like a contemporary romance, and I've heard some great things about it. Next two I'm going to do together, that is Rule of Wheels and King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is a continuation of the Shadow and Bone series, so following some of the characters that we meet in there, and I'm not sure if there's characters from Six of Crows in here as well, but I've read all of those books, so I just want to finish off this series by reading these two. Next up, I've got Broken Bonds by Jay Bree. This is a Why Choose fantasy, kind of, I think maybe dystopian romance, and again, I've heard some really great things. I've then got The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bovalino. Don't know too much about this one, but quite gothic, probably good for spooky season. Next up is Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. I think this is set in Italy. It's fantasy of some sort. Again, not too sure in the synopsis of this one, but been on my TBR for quite some time, but because of how thick it is, I haven't managed to pick it up yet, but definitely do want to read this one. You're probably going to hear me saying I want to read all of these. Obviously they're on my TBR and I want to read them, so I do apologise for repeating myself. Next up, I've got The Malevolent Seven by Sebastian de Castile. Heard some great things about this author, so this is the book that I decided to pick up to give them a try. Then the next one is a series, so this is the Graceling series. So I've got the first book on my TBR cart, Graceling, and then we've got Fire, Bitter Blue and Winterkeep. YA fantasy, heard some great things about it, and one that I've had on my TBR for quite a long time. If I don't read this year, I am probably going to unhaul these because I've had them for so long, but for now they're staying where they are. Next up, I've got Five Broken Blades by Mia Cortland. I think this came out last year. Heard it has Six of Crows vibes, so that had me intrigued. Next up again is a series, and technically I've read the first one, so I have read City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, but I am going to be reading that one so that I can continue the series because I did read half of The Kingdom of Copper, but it was quite a long time ago. I can't really remember the details, so I do want to reread this first one so that I can continue in the series and finish this one. Next up, I've got The Demon King by Cinda Williams-Chima, and this one I think is probably a bit more high fantasy. Not sure if it's YA or adult, but one that I haven't heard too many people talk about, but definitely piqued my interest when I read the synopsis. Next up, I have The Binding by Bridget Collins. I believe this is kind of magical realism, a lot to do with books, and yeah, just definitely one I do want to read. And again, I'm going to try and not give synopsises for each of these books. I keep doing it, but I'm going to try and stop that now. Next up is Her Majesty's Royal Coven. Contemporary, fantasy, a lot of witchy stuff in there. And the last ones on the paperbacks for this shelf are a series as well. So it's The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. Oh, not sure if these are going to stand by themselves. Let me just lean them back there. And as you can tell probably, and will tell when you go through these shelves, I am kind of a serial series buyer, even when I haven't read the first book. So I haven't read The Luminaries, but I have heard some great things about this. So hoping to read this probably more around spooky season. Okay, so now we can do the hardbacks on that shelf. So this is technically a paperback, but it's one of those bigger ones. So I've got The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. Then I've got Rouge by Mona Awad. I read Bunny by her and really liked it, so definitely intrigued to read this one. Next up are the second and third in a series. I do have the first one on my TBR cart, so you will see that when we get there, but this is YA fantasy. Again, heard some really great things about it. Hoping to get to it very soon. And then by that same author, this was a fairy loot book, I believe. It's Feybound by Sarah Ellery-Fee, and I had hoped to get to this one sooner, but given that I have so many books on my TBR, it's one of those ones that I do tend to forget about, but really love the cover of this one. I then have The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. I think this has kind of Middle Eastern fantasy vibes, so a bit of folklore in there, a bit different to some of the ones that I do have on my TBR. Again, this is another fairy loot choice, I believe. Yes, it is fairy loot. So this is The Scarlet Alchemist by Kylie Lee Baker, and I'll be honest, I haven't heard anyone talking about this and I haven't been intrigued enough to kind of pick it up. So I'm not sure what to do about this one, whether to unhaul it before trying it, but if you've read this one, definitely let me know, because I'm toying with the idea of unhauling it, but I'm always afraid that I'm going to give away a 5-star book. So yeah, definitely let me know if you've read this one. Next up, I have Girl, Serpent, Thorn by Melissa Beishadost. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I've probably just butchered that. I think this is a standalone fantasy. Don't know too much about it, but it was one of the first kind of special editions I ended up purchasing, so that's why I have it. But again, this is one I'm thinking of potentially unhauling because I haven't been inclined to pick it up. Next up is Sleep Like Death by Callan Bayron, and I believe this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and again was one of my fairy loot picks. Next up, we have Sing Me to Sleep by Gabby Burton. Then we have The Last Hour Between Worlds by Melissa Caruso. I am definitely very excited about this one. I really like the sound of it. So this one is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarifi, and this is the same author as The City of Brass, and this one I was supposed to read last summer because it is very obviously piratey, based on a pirate ship, and I just didn't get to it, but definitely excited to get to it this summer. Then we have To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods by Molly X. Zhang, Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chow, Of Jade and Dragons by Amber Chen, and The Girl with No Reflection by Keshi Chow. So a lot of those are obviously a lot of Chinese mythology, and I do always tend to enjoy those, so hoping to get to some of those in the summer. Next up is The Silence Factory by Bridget Collins. I have read one book by her, so again, really excited to read The Binding and this one from her because I did enjoy her writing style. As I say, definitely magical realism, and this one I think is going to be a bit of a mystery, so definitely excited to get to that. The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson. This is the second book in the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series. And then Until We Shatter by Kate Dillon, and this one I actually don't know too much about. Again, it's kind of a subscription box book from Illumicrate, but I really like the cover. Okay, so this next shelf you can kind of see there's almost triple stacking going on at this point because we are running out of room, but as I say, hoping to get some new shelves soon which will solve that problem. But first up on this one we have Bitterthorn by Kat Dunn. I think this is a bit of a gothic romance, but again, not too sure on what this is about. Then got Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames, and I've got two by John Gwynne, and they're both the start of a series, so The Shadow of Gods and Malice. Not sure which of these I'm going to start first, but I think they're both based on Norse mythology, so definitely right up my street. I've then got The 10 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow, and this is kind of my last chance with Alex E. Harrow to find a book that I really love. I do really love her writing, but so far I just haven't clicked with the books that I've read from her, so really hoping this is going to be a win. I've then got the entire series of Practical Magic. Now, I obviously love the movie, haven't read the books, but thought I'd get the books to hopefully read one day. Next up, this is the next one I have in a series, so I've read the first 4 books in this series, or the first 3. So The Queen of the Dawn by S.M. Gaither, and the first one is... I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember what the first one is of this one, but it's basically her Shadows and Crowns series. I think I want to reread this whole series because I did read them quite a long time ago and kind of left it too long to continue in the series, so I may end up rereading these. Next up is A Dowry of Blood. It's almost like a feminist retelling of Dracula and his brides. Then got The Princess Bride by William Goldman. This is a movie I watched when I was very young. Can't really remember the story, but definitely intrigued by the book. Then got The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I think this is kind of a sci-fi, almost dystopian maybe, type of story. Heard great things about it, so decided to pick it up. Then next up is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. So again, YA fantasy that I've heard great things about. Then we've got God Killer by Hannah Kaner. Then Bonds of Cupidity by Raven Kennedy. This is actually the second book within a series from her, and I think it's called the Heart Hustle series. Really love Raven Kennedy and wanted to get the indie versions of these before they went out of print, which they are now traditionally published, but excited to pick this one up. I haven't read it yet. Next up are the second and third book in the Bridget Kemmerer series, so the Defy the Night series. The first one is on my TBR cart. Again, haven't read these, so not sure how good they are, but I have enjoyed another series by her, so hoping this will be the same. Then we have The Children of Gods and Fighting Men, and this is by Shauna Lawless. She's a local author here, so a lot of Irish mythology in here, so definitely something I'm intrigued by. Then we have The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. It's a book about books, means it's for me. Then we have A Crown of Ivy and Glass by Clara the Grand, and this one, again, don't know too much about it, but pretty sure it's romantasy. Then I've got Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and I think this is kind of Chinese mythology or folklore. Similarly, I've then got A Magic Steeped in Poison and A Venom Dark and Sweet by Judy I. Lin. Hoping to get to these ones soon. hardbound, and these covers are just absolutely beautiful, which is why I still have them even though they've been on my TBR for such a long time. Then we've got Seven Faceless Saints, and this again is one of the earliest special editions I got, which is part of the reason I still have it. Haven't read it yet, can't really remember what it's supposed to be about, but it's a pretty cool edition. Then lastly, for the paperbacks on this shelf, I've got Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer, and I really need to read this. This was a gift from my friend Tiffany, so definitely hoping to get to this soon. Okay, so we'll move on to the hardbacks on this shelf, and I'll take the ones that are on top first. So this is The Sirens by Amelia Hart. This is a newer release. And then we've got Heavenly Bodies by Amani Eru, and as you can see, I have started this one. I have soft DNF'd it. I wasn't feeling it at the time, but I do want to try and give it a second chance because I know I was in a slump at the time. I then got 2 books on here, and one of these has technically been read. So the first one, The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramas. I have read this one, but then I also have The Curse of Sins, which is the sequel to that one. And the longer I've sat with this book, I'm kind of thinking I may end up unhauling these because I really liked this at the time, but it hasn't left a lasting impression on me. So I'm not sure if I'm definitely going to keep these editions, but for now I'm going to keep them on my shelves. Maybe read the second one before I decide what to do. Then we've got Sorcery and Small Magics by Maya Ducci, and I think this is cozy fantasy. Then we've got The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. Heard this has kind of reminiscent vibes of Throne of Glass, so puts it in good stead for me. We've then got Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright, and basically just the cover is why I've kept this one. Not too sure what this one's about, but it was a subscription box pick, so that's why I have it. Then have The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw, and I just want to read this one because I've heard their writing is amazing. Very witchy, very spooky vibes. Definitely want to read this spooky season. I've then got A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal, and I have read We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. Didn't really enjoy that, but want to read that second book in that duology before I pick up this one. And these two are part of a series. I believe this is a Hades and Persephone retelling by Bea Fitzgerald, and that's Girl, Goddess, Queen, and The End Crowns All. I've then got Evocation by S.T. Gibson. Not sure what this one's about, but I have kind of read one book by S.T. Gibson and wasn't a fan. I do still need to read A Dowry of Blood and this one, so jury is still out. Then we've got Phyllis Things by Chloe Gong, and Chloe Gong is kind of a running joke for me, only because I've bought all of her books and I still haven't picked up one. These need to be read this year. Then got 2 books which are by Rachel Griffin, and that's Wild as the Witch and Bring Me Your Midnight. I did read the first book in this series, which the name is escaping of me, Nature of Witches I think it is, and it was okay. It was like a 3.5 read, so wanting to read these to see if these are books that I do want to keep or if I'll end up passing these on. I've then got The Blackbird Oracle by Deborah Harkness. This is the technically 5th book within the A Discovery of Witches series. You do need to read the series before you read this one, just haven't got to it yet. Then have Threads That Bind, and I think this was Fairy Loot. Yes, it's a Fairy Loot pick. I have absolutely no idea what this one's about, but really like the cover, but I probably should go through some of these to see if they're ones that I definitely still want to keep. I then have The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. I think this is kind of a thriller / magical realism story. Then I have Medea, which is a Greek retelling, and this is by Rosie Hewlett. Then I have Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim, and I've heard some great things about this one. Again, Middle Eastern kind of vibes. Now that the second book is out, I probably will pick this one up soon. And then last for the hardbacks on this shelf is The Will of the Many by James Isington. I believe this has some kind of dark academia vibe, so perfect for the type of books I like to read. Okay, so down to the next shelf, and the first book I've got on here is Witherward by Hannah Matthewson. Then I've got Middle Game by Shannon Maguire, and I am very excited for this one. I then have Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro, and then I have The House Witch, and it has a very long title, but it's by Delma? I have no idea. Emily Nakota? I'm actually not sure who this is written by. It kind of has a couple of different names, so either way, I believe this is a cozy fantasy. I then have the entire Shatter Me series, and this is only because my sister did gift me this one. She bought the box set from the works and didn't end up being her thing, so I do have the entire series. The first book is on my TBR cart, and again, this is kind of a read it or unhaul it situation. I want to read that first book really soon to see if this is something I want to keep, and this is by Tahira Mafi. Then next up I have Dance of Thieves and Five of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This is a spin-off from the Remnant Chronicles, which I'm still reading. These paperbacks were a very kind gift from my friend Gina, so really happy to have these. Then I have The Afterlife of Mal Caldera by Nadi Reed Perez, The Whispering Muse by Laura Purcell, The Surviving Sky by Kritika H. Rao, The Witching Hour by Anne Rice, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Then I've got 2 by Ava Reid, so I've got Juniper and Thorn, and then The Wolf and the Woodsman. Then I've got Gothicana by Runex, Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, which I believe is more of a sci-fi led series by him, The Crimson Road by A.G. Slatter. And then I'm going to go through all of my V.E. Schwab, even though some of them are on the shelf below. I'm just going to go through all the books I have from her to read. Basically from V.E. Schwab I have The Savage Song and Our Dark Duet. I believe that's a YA series. The Dark Fault, I think this is a combination of stories, I'm not too sure. Then I have The Fragile Threads of Power, but I do need to read the darker shade of magic before I can read that. And then I've got Vengeful. This is the second book in kind of the Fishes series, and I have read the first book, just need to read the second book. Okay, so now onto the hardbacks for this shelf. I've got The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. I believe this is based on a lot of Welsh mythology. Then I've got The Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. The next two are by the same author, and they're both kind of, I think, Christmassy kind of stories. So the first one is Upon a Frosted Star, and then Midnight in Everwood. I've then got The God and the Gumheo by Sophie Kim. The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Ramirez La Cruz. The Darkness Within Us by Trisha Levenseller. Then I think these next two are kind of connected. I'm not sure if they're in a series or if they're just kind of connected to each other within the same world. But I've got The Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Kim, which I think actually comes after 6 Crimson Cranes. And then I've got Her Radiant Curse by her as well. So very spring/summer series, and I may actually try and put this up on my TBR to try and read this one soon. I then have Now She Is Witch by Kirsty Logan, and then Throne of the Fallen and Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the spin-off series to Kingdom of the Wicked. I then have The Darkening and the Lightstruck by Sunya Mara, and this one is a YA series, and I haven't heard anybody talking about it, but I remember when I read the synopsis I was really interested in it, so gonna have to try and get that up the TBR as well. Then I've got The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O, and yep, even though I haven't read these yet, I do have the special editions of Dance of Thieves and Fire of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson as well. I've then got The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner, and then the last hardback on the shelf is The Forest Grimm, and that's by Catherine Purdy. Okay, so on this last shelf here, you will see that we finally start to get into some other genres, but as I say, I've already shown you the V.E. Schwab one, so I'll just take these off. But I've then got Prairie of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Then I have King of Battle and Blood and Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett Sinclair. I really enjoyed her Hades and Persephone series, so definitely want to give these ones a try. Next up is a recent acquisition, and it's Andrea Stewart, The Bone Shard Daughter. I then have Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro and Cornelia Funk. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing either of those names right. And this one, I'm not sure why I didn't connect the dots with the movie of this, and I think it is actually quite traumatizing, so I'm not sure if I will read this one, but if I do, it'll probably be around spooky season. Then similarly with this one, this is quite a witchy story, so Threadneedle by Carrie Thomas. I've then got Inanna by Emily H. Wilson, and I think this is kind of based on mythology. I can't exactly remember where from now, but I just remember it sounding really good when I picked it up. I've then got the second book in this series, which is For the Wolf, and then the second one is For the Throne by Hannah Witten. I actually don't know why I have this on the shelf, because I have read this one, and that's The Coven by Harper L. Woods. Just removing that one. Then we do get into some of the other genres, so I've got The House of Spirits by Isabel Allende, Flowers in the Attic by Virginia Andrews, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Definitely want to read this, I've heard some amazing things about it. The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. I've then got a couple of really short ones, which I don't think will stand up on their own, so I'll put them together, but it's I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. And then we have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This next one is actually very high on my priority because I have read basically everything from her now, and that's Yellowface by R.F. Kwong. Heard amazing things about this one and definitely want to jump in soon. I've then got Blue Sisters by Coco Malors. Pretty sure this is going to be a book club pick for me soon, so decided to pick up a copy so that I can read along with it. Then I've got Ariadne by Jennifer Saint, which is a Greek mythology retelling. The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. And then this should probably really be on my romance shelf, but it's All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. Okay, so last leg for these shelves, and it's a duplicate this first one. It's The Wolf in the Woods Band by Ava Reid. I just had a feeling that I was really going to enjoy it, so decided to pick up this special edition. It was quite cheap on Vinted, so thought why not. Then I have The Graveyard Shift by ML Rio, and this was just basically because I love If We Were Villains, and didn't get to read this last spooky season, but hopefully I will this year. I then have A Multitude of Dreams by Mara Rutherford. This was a very kind gift from my friend Clara on Bookstagram, so definitely excited to read that one. I then have Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. This is a cozy fantasy, and I've heard some mixed reviews, so toying with the idea of unhauling this one, but I may give it a try before I do that. I then have A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft, and similarly this is supposed to be I think cozy fantasy, quite whimsical. And I do have another one by her which is slightly different, but A Dark and Drowning Tide. I think this is a bit more gothic. Heard great things about her writing, so happy to have these on my TBR. Next up I have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. This is one of his Kickstarter, I think it was called, but I believe it is a standalone and kind of connects into the Cosmere in some way, so once I've read a bit more of it I'll probably jump into this one. Then got another book by Andrea Stewart, so The Gods Below. I think this was Fairy Loot. Yes, this is a Fairy Loot pick, so that's why I have this one. I then have If I Have to Be Haunted by Miranda Sun, Darker by Four by June C.L. Tan, This Vicious Grace and This Cursed Light by Emily Theed. I believe this is a duology. Ink Blood Sister Sister Scribe by Emma Torres, Song of Silver Flame Like Night by Emily Wen Zhao, For She Is Wrath by Emily Varga, After the Forest by Kel Woods, Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood, and this is the Waterstones edition. I really love the sprayed edges on this one. My childhood icon, Jacqueline Wilson, she came out with Think Again. Definitely had to pick this one up. And then one of my favourite authors of my adulthood is Naomi Novik, and this is a collection of short stories based in some of her worlds that she's created, and it's called Buried Deep, and again, that cover is absolutely stunning. Okay, so now we'll go through the books that I have on my TBR cart, so there's no kind of rhyme or reason as to why they're on here. They're just books that I felt like I wanted to put on this cart. I probably will update this soon. There's a bit of a mix of genres in here as well, but let's get started. So the first one I have on here is Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This was a gift from one of my BookTube friends, so really glad to have this. I've then got What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez, and I'm very excited about this because I believe it has the mummy vibes. I then have The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. I believe this is a cozy fantasy, and again, another one I'm very excited to get to. I've then got The Book of Night by Holly Black, and the sequel to this book has just been announced, so I can finally read this on now that we have a date for the second book coming out. I've then got The Jasad Ur by Sarah Hashim, A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson, and this is one that I'm definitely very excited about. Dark Academia, 1920s or 30s or something like that, and dragons. I've also got The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanson. You've probably heard of this one. Very popular romantasy. Then I've got Curious Tides by Pascal Lascelles. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but this one I haven't heard anyone talk about, and this was a gift from my friend Clara, so again, very happy to have this and very thankful. But it definitely sounds intriguing. It's very celestial, and I think the second book in this one has come out as well now, so again, another one I can read now that the second one's been announced. Then got Watermoon by Samantha Soto Yambayo. And then just to finish off this top shelf, on the back I've got The Courting of Bristol Keats by Emmy Pearson, and then Daughter of Chaos by A.S. Webb. Then last on that shelf we do have another one which we did talk about, but it's the first book in the Sarah El Arifi series, The Final Strife. These next couple of shelves are a bit harder to get the books out of, so I may just talk through these, but that is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I've got Bride of the Shadow King by, I think this is Sylvia Mercedes. I've then got Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, Talon Sister by Jem Williams, A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer, Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni, The Ninth Reign also by Jem Williams, Blood Hour by Emily Wen Zhao, Graceling, as I say, we already talked about that one. And then the last few on the back here is Lonely Castle in the Mirror, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Solfa Katao, and then 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Okay, I've tried to lower it so you can see, but I know that the angle is horrible, but again, with this one I'll just talk through them. But I've got Signs of Cupidity by Raven Kennedy, Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi, The Promise of Fire by Amanda Boucher, The Magician's Daughter by H.G. Parry, Twelfth Night by Alexine Farrow Falmouth, which is basically Olivia Blake, Tempierre by Naomi Novik, The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, Daughter of the Drowned Empire by Frankie Diane Mullis, and I've actually heard some really great things about that one, Defy the Night by Bridget Kimmerer, and then The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Parry as well. Okay, so since we're already down here, I might as well go through my romance shelf. So a lot of these have actually been read, but I'll just put off the ones that I haven't read yet. So I've got the second and the third book in the Knock 'Em Out series, so Things We Hide from the Light, and then Things We Left Behind, and those are by Lucy Score. I've then got My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and L.J. Shen. Then I've got Jojo Moyes, The Girl You Left Behind. Then My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine, and then One Day by David Nichols. Then in the back of that shelf I do have a few more romances, so I've got Icebreaker and Wildfire by Hannah Grace, and then last up for the unread on that shelf I've got Next to You and Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young. The next shelf is just a bit of a mix of everything. There's been quite a bit of overspill over the past few months, as you can imagine, and I've just started putting things in any shelf, so there's no real rhyme or reason to some of these books being here, but the first one is We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal. This is the second book in a duology. Really like the first book, so want to try and read this one soon. Then I've got Jade War by Fonda Lee. Again, read the first book in this one and want to continue with the series. Same with this one, Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. And then I've also got Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. And then I've got None of the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and this is the last one that's out in this series of the Gideon the Ninth series. I've then got First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I've then got the entire Night Angel trilogy by Brent Weeks, so that's The Way of Shadows, Beyond the Shadows, and Shadow's Edge. And then not too many on this bottom shelf because it's my kind of Binding 13 shelf at the moment. So I've read Binding and Keeping 13, but I do have the other three within the series. So I've got Saving 6, then I've got Redeeming 6, and then I've got Taming 7. Okay, so next up I'll just go through some of the miscellaneous ones I have here. I do have a pile of kind of subscription books that have come in and a couple of my latest acquisitions. So let me just go and get those. Okay, so as I say, these are books that I've either recently purchased or I've had recently delivered. So the first one is The Rag Picker King by Cassandra Clare. I do actually have Swordcatcher on my TBR, but it's on my bigger shelf, so I may have to go in there and check if there's any in there that I haven't read. I know there's at least one shelf of Chloe Gong books that I still have not read, but recently received this Waterstones edition of The Rag Picker King. I then have The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington, Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft, Funny Story by Emily Henry, The Scorpion and the Night Blossom by Emily Wen Zhao, and then The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. Okay, so the very last pile, and this one is just a bit of a placeholder. I think there's around 6 books I haven't read from her, but Chloe Gong, Lee's Violent Delights, can't remember what the second one's called. Then we've got By Lady Fortune and all the spin-off series of this, as well as Immortal Longings. I've got a bit of a shelf of shame on my big shelves because I haven't read any of her books, and I definitely want to try and get to them to see if they're books that I like. But yeah, at the moment, they're all on my TBR. I've then got A Touch of Poison by Claire Sager, and this is the second of the Shadows of the Tenebrous Court. And then I've got basically the rest of the Magnolia Park series. So I've only read Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates, the first 2 books. So I do have the rest of the series here. Got Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, Daisy Hates, The Great Undoing, and then Magnolia Parks, Into the Dark as well. So I think that's everything, unless there's any books that I've forgotten about in some of my piles or my shelves. I didn't include my classics in this because while I do collect them, I don't really count them as part of my kind of official TBR. They're just books that I will pick up as and when the mood takes me. They're lifer books. They're books that I will read at some point in my life, whereas these books are books that I'm definitely interested in reading at some point soon. I mean, I've got 250 of them, so I don't know what soon means. Pretty subjective, but they're ones that are on my radar to read kind of within the foreseeable future. I do need to try and be better with my book buying. I probably will continue to buy books, but I am at the point now where, yes, I am getting some new shelves, but I am really filled to the brim, so I need to make some decisions on books that I've had for quite a long time. If I'm not going to read them, or if they're just not high on my radar, I don't need them on my shelves to read right now. I can maybe get the Kindle edition or something like that and get rid of the physical edition that I have. But either way, my shelves are completely full, so I need to change something, and something needs to be done. But it really does bring me a lot of joy just having this many books to kind of choose from. Whatever mood I'm in, whatever I'm feeling, I have quite a lot of choice here. I know this isn't a normal amount of books to have on a TBR, but quite honestly for me, I don't really go out much. It's my only real hobby, and I don't really spend my money on anything else, so I don't really see the harm in it. But yeah, that's everything. Let me know how many books you have on your physical TBR. Are you much more restrained than me, or are you the same as me and it's kind of getting a little bit out of control? And definitely let me know if there's any books that you've seen on my TBR today that you think I need to kind of get to the top of my TBR pile. I've definitely been kind of mood reading over the last few months, but it is always quite difficult to kind of pick what your next read is going to be when you do have this volume of books. Even though it's great to have this much choice, it can make it a little bit overwhelming. But if there's anything you think I should be reading kind of ASAP, definitely let me know. If you like this video, do remember to give it a like, and if you want to see more from me, remember to subscribe. I post 2 videos per week, and it's videos like this, so TBR videos, TBR jar videos, reading vlogs, book hauls, come shopping with me, all good bookish things like that. Other than that, thanks so much for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye!